The message hit my phone at exactly 2:57 a.m. I'm done with you. I'm going to Santa Rosa's with my 26-year-old girlfriend. Oh, and I emptied our bank account. That's what I read just as I was peeling off my work gloves after a brutal 15-hour shift in the middle of the Arabian Sea. Name's Logan Whitaker. I'm 51 now, been running oil rigs for close to 30 years, South America, Middle East, you name it. My hands were still slick with grease when I saw that message from Sabrina, my wife of 18 years. I sat there staring at the screen like it had just slapped me across the face. Then another text came through. It was a screenshot of our joint account, every last dollar gone. $126,500 vanished in a heartbeat. She even added a kiss emoji, like it was some kind of sick punchline. I didn't scream, didn't throw the phone, just sat on my bunk, packed in with two other guys in a room smaller than a motel closet. I typed back one sentence. Sure, good luck. Then I turned the phone off, grabbed my towel, and hit the showers like nothing happened. Next morning, everyone on the crew could tell something was off. I skipped breakfast, went straight to the site. My right-hand man, Trey, kept sneaking looks my way during the safety walkthrough, but he knew better than to poke the bear. I had 16 men counting on me to keep this massive steel beast running safe. Out here, personal problems don't get to ride shotgun. But during lunch, I flipped open my laptop, and sure enough, there it was. An email from Sabrina. She'd already filed the divorce paperwork. Said I'd abandoned our marriage by working overseas too much. And to make it sting worse, she'd hired some hotshot divorce lawyer named Martin. Guy's whole career is built on draining men like me dry. She even wanted spousal support. Claimed my income gave her a lifestyle she was now entitled to. Then came the real kicker. Turns out her new boyfriend, her so-called emotional support partner, was already shacked up in my house back in Rockford. I just closed the laptop and walked it off. Later that night, I sent a message. Not to her, but to my cousin Travis in Nashville. He's an accountant and hands down the sharpest guy I know. All I wrote was, time to activate Protocol Winter. That was our code. Been using it for years. No explanation needed. 3 minutes later, he wrote back, already moving. Don't answer anything until you're stateside. I still had 2 weeks left on my rotation. That meant 2 more weeks of grueling 12-hour days under a scorching 110-degree sun, while everything I thought I had waiting back home was burning to the ground. Could have taken emergency leave. Everyone would have understood. But for what? I figured I might as well finish the job and earn that last paycheck. That night, our supervisor Clay stopped by my bunk. Asked me, everything holding steady? And he wasn't just talking about the equipment. I looked him square in the eye and said, yeah, everything's under control. And I meant it, in a way Sabrina never really did understand. But deep down, I knew the storm was just getting started. I didn't text her back, didn't blow up her phone, just waited. Sometimes the smartest thing a man can do is sit tight and let the storm reveal its cards. After Sabrina's little bombshell, I wrapped up my shift and made my way back to the bunk. That's when the sat phone buzzed. It was Travis. You sitting down? He asked. Spit it out, I said. And he did. She's been planning this, Logan. Over a year, at least 14 months. Started funneling cash into a second account under her maiden name. Just a few grand here and there at first. Then it picked up speed. Over the last 3 months alone, she moved more than 200,000. Which meant the 126.5K from our joint account. That was just the tip of the iceberg. Travis went quiet for a second. Then added, she changed the beneficiary on your life insurance policy. Did it 6 months back. My stomach dropped. But he wasn't done. She also pulled out a $42,000 home equity line against the house, he said, almost like he didn't want to say it out loud. And yeah, she forged your signature. I sat there frozen on the edge of my bunk, the low hum of the rig's generators vibrating up through the floor like a dull warning bell in my spine. 18 years, almost 2 decades with that woman, slowly being erased behind my back. One quiet move at a time. I finally asked, what about the guy? Name's Zach Dillon, Travis told me. Just like she said, he's 25. Used to work as a personal trainer, but there's nothing solid on him. Spotty employment. No real work history. And then came the part that really made my skin crawl. He's got a pattern. 3 past relationships. All older women. All over by the 18-month mark. I didn't need a crystal ball to see how that was going to play out. And Logan, Travis added, his voice dropping lower. I found a charge on her card. 2 one-way tickets to Santa Rosa's. Leaving Tuesday. 3 days from now. She wasn't just leaving. She was planning to disappear with everything in her hands before I could even get boots back on American soil. I hung up the phone and sat in the dark. Didn't turn on a light. Just let the silence take over and let the memories start re-editing themselves like scenes in a movie I didn't recognize anymore. Those weird late-night calls she'd step outside to take. That sudden health kick she went on a few years back. The way she'd gripe about money even when our savings were sitting comfortably. It wasn't just betrayal. It was premeditated. Calculated. She had played the long game. Smiled in my face. Kissed me through video calls. Cashed every paycheck I sent. And behind all of it, she was dismantling the life we'd built together. And something inside me hardened. The heartbreak started to chill, turning into something sharper. Something focused. I stood up, walked to my locker, and pulled out my laptop. Logged into a shared email Travis and I set up years ago, just in case. Then I opened the portal to the trust we built together, a financial parachute in case life ever blew up. Iron Pine Trust, named after my grandmother's last name and the old stream that ran behind her ranch. Once it loaded, I saw the number $1.7 million. For the last 8 years, I'd been quietly moving 70% of my pay into that account. Everything legal. All reported, but fully protected, tied to a separate entity Travis set up so it could never be touched in a divorce. I typed one line to my lawyer back in Nashville. Proceed with Operation Cold Return. Then I shut the laptop and headed for the mess hall. First time in days I actually felt hungry. 38 hours later, I landed in Nashville. My shift was over, and Travis was waiting for me just past baggage claim. First thing he handed me was a prepaid phone and a thick folder. She's been calling your old number non-stop, he said as we walked to the car. The bank froze the transfer. Big amount, weird timing. They want you to come in personally. She know I'm back? I asked. Nope. Just me and Derek. Derek, my lawyer. But that's not the worst part, Travis said, pulling out his tablet. Take a look at this. It was a chain of texts. Sabrina and someone listed as D. I started reading. Plans about their new start. Laughing at how I was sweating it out overseas while they were blowing through the money. Notes about a house in Santa Rosa's they already put a deposit on. But then one thread made my blood run cold. Sabrina. Bank froze the money. Needs Logan to confirm in person. What do we do? D. He's still offshore for another 10 days. Tell him there's a family emergency, your mom, maybe. Get him to authorize it. You're still legally his wife. Sabrina. He's not answering my calls. D. Try harder. We need that cash before the closing next week. Or we go with Plan B. Sabrina. I don't feel good about Plan B. D. It's just life insurance. He's in a dangerous job for a reason. Accidents happen all the time. And right then, I realized this wasn't just betrayal. This was something darker. Something that could have ended with me in a body bag. I handed the tablet back to Travis. My hands weren't shaking, they were ice cold. You think these'll hold up in court? I asked. They're straight from her cloud backup, he said. When she got that new phone, she logged in using your Apple ID. Never changed the password. Everything synced right to your cloud storage. From there, we drove directly to Derek's office. He'd already gotten a head start. By the time we arrived, he had the divorce papers ready, a criminal complaint for the forged home equity documents, and an emergency motion to freeze anything tied to her name. But he wasn't smiling. There's a twist, Derek said as we sat down. Yesterday, she filed an abuse claim against you. Says you were emotionally manipulative, financially controlling. Claims she feared for her safety. I blinked. I've been out of the country for nearly 2 months. Derek sighed. Doesn't matter. It's not about what's true. It's about the story her lawyer's trying to sell. He's angling for a restraining order and full access to the house. Hearings scheduled for tomorrow. So while I'm getting roasted on a steel deck 7,000 miles from home, she's trying to lock me out of my own place and let her boyfriend stretch out in my chair? Derek gave a tight nod. That's the play. And the home equity money? Gone, he said flatly. She wired it to an LLC in Zach Dillon's name. Did it 3 days after the loan hit your account. I took a long breath, let it settle in my chest. So what do? We hit back. Now, Derek said. Forgery, fraud, conspiracy, and thanks to those texts, alienation of affection. We go after her assets and freeze that shell company. He pushed a folder across the table. This one's especially important. I looked at the label. Motion to dismiss domestic abuse claims due to perjury. What's our ammo? I asked. That's when he smiled. Glad you asked. Derek flipped open a packet of documents. We pulled your location logs from your work badge. They show you've been stationed on that rig for 7 straight weeks. Your passport stamps match perfectly. I also subpoenaed your call records. Nothing even close to a threat or heated argument. I signed where he pointed. No hesitation. One more thing, Derek said, his tone shifting. We need her to think you're still overseas. Don't tip your hand. When the papers are served, she shouldn't see it coming. I gave a single nod. I can handle that. As I left Derek's office, my personal phone buzzed. New message from Sabrina. Please call me. It's urgent. I need your help. I didn't answer. The trap was set. Just not the one she thought she was walking me into. That night, I crashed at Travis's place. Best night of sleep I'd had in weeks. By morning, I was wide awake and logged into the home surveillance system I'd set up a few years ago. Sabrina must have forgotten or assumed I couldn't access it while working offshore. But there it was. Live video feed from the backyard back in Rockford. And there he was, some smug little punk lounging by the pool, whiskey in hand. Probably from the private bottle I'd been saving. Looked like he was even wearing my old college sweatshirt. Feet kicked up on the patio set I built with my own hands. Then Sabrina walked into frame. She was pacing, clearly rattled. Whatever she thought would happen wasn't. Travis stepped into the kitchen with 2 mugs of coffee. You're gonna want to see this, he said, opening his laptop. He'd been up all night digging into Zach Dillon's past. What he found hit like a gut punch. This guy's done this before, Travis said, turning the screen toward me. Turns out Zach had a pattern. Always the same setup. Meet a married woman with money, charm her into leaving her husband, bleed her dry, then disappear. 3 women. 5 years. Same ending every time, financial ruin. There were court documents, articles from local papers, screenshots from social media. One of the women was still paying off credit card debt he'd racked up in her name. Then Travis leaned in a little. There's more. One of them, her ex-husband, died. I sat up, alert. What happened? Single vehicle accident, Travis said. 6 weeks after she filed for divorce. Same guy had driven that mountain road for 20 years without a scratch. One night, he goes off a cliff. No charges were ever filed. But the shadow of it hung heavy. And suddenly, this wasn't just personal anymore. My phone lit up again. Sabrina. I let it ring out. No point picking up. Travis tilted his head. You'll want to hear this one, he said, pressing play on the speaker. Her voice filled the room. Logan, please. Something's wrong with the account. I was just transferring money into that investment we talked about, and now everything's frozen. I can't access anything. Please just call the bank and tell them it's okay. I'm scared. The way she said it, it almost sounded real. Thick with emotion. Almost. If she'd sent that 2 weeks ago, I might have actually believed it. She's cracking, Derek said later that day as we sat down for lunch. That deal in Santa Rosa's? It falls apart in 5 days. If that money doesn't come through, it's game over. I looked him dead in the eye. What's our next move? This afternoon, we're in front of Judge Denise Rowan, he said. She's sharp. Doesn't tolerate bogus abuse claims. Your alibi is airtight. And as for the bank accounts, we've petitioned for full recovery. Everything she took from the joint account. And then some. Then he pushed a folder across the table. This came in this morning. From Martin. Inside were photos. Movers. Cardboard boxes. Guys hauling furniture. My furniture. The hand-carved desk I spent 2 winters restoring. The hutch my grandfather built when he first got back from the war. All of it being carried out like junk from a yard sale. They're cleaning you out, Derek said. And they're not waiting for that house deal to close. They're planning to vanish, money or no money. I closed the folder slowly. Felt something in me settle. Not rage. Not even sadness. Just finality. Change of plans, I said. Both men looked up. I'm heading back. Not to confront her. I'll stay at Martin's. I want to see this unravel with my own eyes. Derek held up a cautioning hand. I'd advise against. I'm not kicking in any doors, I said. I just want to be across the street when it happens. Travis and Derek exchanged looks. And I want her to see me when the papers hit. I want her to look me in the eye when it all collapses around her. Derek gave a slow nod. We'll make sure she does. As we stepped outside, my burner buzzed. Message from Martin. They're loading up your grandfather's desk. The one you finished last winter. Figured you'd want to know. That one stung deeper than I expected. Some things hurt worse than theft. Some betrayals don't just take your money, they take your bloodline. The 6-hour drive back to Rockford gave me plenty of time to think. Derek had already scheduled the sheriff to serve her the papers at 9 a.m. sharp the next morning. Travis handled the coordination from Martin's place, where I'd spend the night, watching it all unfold from across the street. I pulled in just past midnight. Martin opened the door without a word, just offered a firm handshake. The kind you give a man who's been hit and is still standing. No explanation needed. She have any clue I'm here? I asked. He shook his head. Not a chance. He led me to the front window, perfect view of my driveway. They've been hauling stuff out all day, he said. Only thing left is garbage. Expensive stuff's already gone. Big moving truck scheduled to roll in first thing. I stared through the glass, watching the quiet street. Anyone else stop by? Yeah, he said. Woman with a clipboard. Looked like a real estate agent. I turned toward him, brows raised. They're selling the house? Looks like it. She was snapping pictures out front. I grabbed my phone, called Derek on the spot. Told him to pull property records first thing in the morning. By 3 a.m., sleep still hadn't come. I sat at Martin's kitchen table, coffee in one hand, folder in the other, flipping through Travis's file again. Bank transfers, phone records, hotel charges, all of it laid out like blueprints for a heist. Quiet theft drawn out over months. Lies stacked on top of lies like scaffolding around a crumbling marriage. By dawn, Derek texted back. She'd listed the house 2 days ago, asking price way below value. She wanted it gone fast. And the listing signature? You guessed it, mine. Forged. Again. At 8:30 sharp, I stood at Martin's window, coffee in hand, watching as Sabrina and her Boytoy loaded the last few boxes into that sleek black Audi. My grandma's silver picture frames. My dad's old wristwatch. Then, right on cue at 8:45, a big moving truck pulled into the driveway. 3 guys climbed out and started toward the front door like it was just another job. But this time, they were walking straight into a different kind of delivery. At 8:55, a plain sedan rolled up behind the moving truck, cutting off its exit. 2 deputies stepped out, along with a woman in a dark blazer. Derek had sent in a court officer to oversee what came next. I glanced over at Martin. It's time. With a deep breath, I stepped outside and crossed the street, steady and slow. The deputies were already knocking by the time I made it halfway across. Sabrina opened the door, her expression annoyed, until they identified themselves. Confusion crept in fast. Mrs. Whitaker, one deputy said, firm but professional. We're here to serve legal documents, both to you and the gentleman inside. I stood just out of sight. But when she called Zach over and he threw a smug arm around her waist, that's when I made my move, stepping fully into view. The moment her eyes landed on me, I saw it. Shock, then fear. And finally, that flicker behind her eyes I knew too well. Calculation. "Logan?" she breathed, stunned. "You're supposed to be offshore." I gave a small shrug and nodded toward the deputies. "Came home a little early." They handed over the documents: restraining order, asset freeze, forged document charges, the reversal of the home sale, and the full divorce suit for fraud and conspiracy. Zach squared his shoulders and puffed out his chest. "You can't do this. She's scared of you. We filed a domestic abuse claim. Dismissed this morning." I cut in. "Judge didn't buy it. Turns out it's tough to be abusive when you're halfway across the world for 2 months. Denise was especially interested in your texts about Plan B and the life insurance policy." His jaw dropped. Nothing came out. Sabrina reached toward me like she could still spin this. "Logan, wait. This is all a misunderstanding." "Oh, really?" I said. "Emptying our accounts? Selling the house behind my back? Packing up family heirlooms and planning a getaway with a guy who's already done this to 3 other women?" I nodded toward the truck. "Sure looks like a misunderstanding." The court officer stepped forward. "You both have 30 minutes to collect only personal belongings. Clothing, hygiene items, nothing else. Everything else stays here for legal inventory." They were herded back inside under supervision. I turned to leave. "Logan, where are you going?" Sabrina called after me. I didn't stop. "Home," I said. 3 weeks later, we were in court. I sat beside Derek. Across from us, Sabrina and her lawyer looked like a couple of kids waiting for the principal. Zach? Nowhere in sight. He vanished 2 days after getting served, taking whatever cash and jewelry he could grab before slipping into the wind, exactly as Travis had predicted. Judge Denise Rowan took her time. She reviewed every scrap of evidence: bank statements, forged documents, texts, location records. But when she reached the Plan B conversation, she paused, removed her glasses, looked directly at Sabrina. "Mrs. Whitaker," she said flatly, "are you aware of the legal consequences of conspiring to commit insurance fraud, or worse?" Sabrina's lawyer leaned in fast, whispering something in her ear. Sabrina swallowed hard. "It wasn't what it sounds like, Your Honor. He was just joking. I'd never." "Save it," Judge Rowan snapped. "That'll be up to the criminal court." She shook her head as she continued flipping through the files. When she finished, she took off her glasses and looked straight at Sabrina. "In all my years on this bench, I've rarely seen such a calculated, drawn-out act of financial betrayal between spouses. You drained shared accounts, forged legal documents, and attempted to vanish with marital property." Then she turned her attention to me. Her voice softened just slightly. "Mr. Whitaker, while some might question the creation of a separate trust, this court sees your actions differently. You've consistently paid household expenses, reported income truthfully, and protected your earnings legally. There's no indication of deceit, only foresight." Her ruling came quick and clear. "Every asset Sabrina tried to steal? Returned. The house? Mine. Her request for spousal support? Denied without hesitation. And the part that hit hardest? Judge Rowan formally referred her for criminal prosecution, document forgery, financial fraud, and conspiracy." As the courtroom emptied, Sabrina stood up, looking like she wanted to say something, maybe explain, maybe plead. But I didn't stop. Didn't even glance her way. Some endings don't need final words. Some victories don't need a celebration. They just need to land. 6 months later, I was sitting on the porch of my cabin, nestled deep in the woods near Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. That land had always been part of Iron Pine Trust, 40 acres of untouched forest I'd quietly purchased 5 years ago, thinking it might be a good spot to retire someday. Sabrina never even knew it existed. She ended up taking a plea deal for the forgery. No jail time, but 5 years probation and a court order to pay restitution, though I doubt I'll ever see a dime. Last I heard, she was staying with her sister in Boise, folding clothes at a department store. And Zach? He'd already skipped ahead to his next mark, a divorced doctor living down in Nevada. Same routine, new storyline. He doesn't change the play, just the players. As for me, I was officially done with the Riggs. 28 years was enough. More than enough. With the money I'd saved, smart investments, and a steady stream of gas royalties trickling in from a Wyoming plot I bought years ago, I didn't have to work another day if I didn't want to. Martin still called from time to time. Just small-town gossip, who sold what, who moved out, who got married again. After the court hearing, I sold the house in Rockford. Too many memories clinging to those walls. He'd even helped me pack the last boxes. Made sure the heirlooms made it to Idaho in one piece. Everything else? Sold or given away without a second thought. That afternoon, I got a thick envelope in the mail from Travis. It was the final paperwork to close out Iron Pine Trust. Every line item accounted for. Every tax form buttoned up. Clean and final. As the sun slipped behind the pines, I poured myself a glass of bourbon and eased into the porch swing I'd built earlier that summer. No offshore alarms. No late-night calls from a wife sneaking around. Just the wind rustling through the trees and a kind of peace that finally felt like it belonged to me. Then the phone rang. A recruiter. Canadian oil company. They weren't looking for labor, just a seasoned guy to consult, lend his brain, maybe train some greenhorns. No field work. Good pay. I'll think about it, I said. And I would. Eventually. But not tonight. Tonight belonged to stillness. To freedom. To the quiet confidence of a man who lost it all, rebuilt on his own terms, and finally came out whole.